Also in the hot seat on Capitol Hill today, Linda McMahon, President Trump's pick to lead the Department of Education. This comes just days after the president said that he wanted McMahon to put herself out of the job. The Trump administration has made it clear that it wants to dismantle the Department of Education. However, that would require an act of Congress. Senators pressed McMahon on whether she agreed.
Do you agree? And let me just once again get your feelings on this, that if there is a movement to abolish the Department of Education, it has to go through the United States Congress?
Yes, it is set up by the United States Congress, and we work with Congress. It clearly cannot be shut down without it. Chairman Cassidy.
Today's hearing was in front of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. She will go before the full Senate in the coming weeks. And joining us now with more is Angela Morabito, former press secretary for the Department of Education. Angela, good to see you again. As we just heard, the Department of Education cannot be shut down without Congress's approval, but it certainly can be restructured without an act of Congress. Let's talk about that.
Well, it's great to be with you, especially on such an exciting day for the future of education in America. So you're right, and the future secretary, Linda McMahon, is also correct that it takes an act of Congress to shut down the Department of Education. But there's a lot that can be done in the interim to try and get rid of some of this waste, fraud, and abuse that's going on in every corner of the federal government. I mean, there are plenty of places to start, right? We've got this huge bureaucracy that's spending billions every year while student achievement continues to suffer. The latest nation's report card scores that shows 1 in 3 eighth graders are pretty much functionally illiterate. That is a national scandal, and that should say to everyone, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that it is time for a positive change.
Angela, let me ask you this. What would happen if the Department of Education was abolished? What would happen to things like, say, college grants and student loans? How would that be handled, or would it just all go away?
Well, it wouldn't all go away. There are various proposals out there about how to preserve the core functions of the department while getting rid of the wasteful bureaucracy that we have right now. One step that we might be able to take over the next 4 years is spinning off federal student aid into its own independent agency that's able to function more like a bank. After all, it is the nation's largest consumer lender. Protecting civil rights in schools is also critically important, but we'd really like to send that over to the Department of Justice. Let the lawyers do the lawyering. Education funding would not disappear. It would just go through different mechanisms, or instead of competitive grants that take a lot of time and a lot of money, it would be block granted to the states.
I know Linda McMahon has vowed to return education back to the states, where that control was held prior to the establishment of the Department of Education back in 1980 under Jimmy Carter. That said, what is the potential benefit of giving states back control, and what's the possible downside?
Well, right now we're looking at the results of a failed experiment of federal control of education. Look at the test scores. You can see it's just not working. So the idea behind decentralizing power in education is that the people who are closest to the work and closest to the students can make the best decisions about how to use our education dollars. I think the best thing any state could do is put power in the hands of parents by giving them school choice. We're at more than a dozen states now that have universal school choice, and I hope that number gets up to 50 sooner rather than later. But it all starts with taking power out of the hands of Washington and distributing it back throughout the country.
Well, Angela, thank you so much for weighing in. We appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you. God bless.